Hey everybody. I'm just gonna take a beat and say hi and pause and wait for people to jump on. We have at least 8, 9, 10, 12 of you RSVP'd yes for today. Oh, hello. If you are here, feel free to say who you are, feel free to say hi, feel free to say what is on your mind, mentioning that I am going live from within the group on my laptop, and this is a whole new experience for me. So feel free to say live, say hi as you jump on and join. Okay, so today I had a very, very, very long-winded title. And where the conversation needs to begin is actually about power. And I want you guys to introduce yourselves. I want to introduce myself, but I really want to set the container and the tone of day one first, with saying that I've shifted the focus just of today very slightly to focus on power. Why? Because more than anything, this whole event, as well as my whole body of work, as well as my client results, are really all about reclaiming power. And in the case of this event, reclaiming power for your next level of leadership and impact. So take a beat and take that in. And if you want to post in the comments what that means to you, go ahead and post in the comments what that means to you. I can see comments, I believe, from inside the group. And if you're outside, if you're, on my wall watching, I'll check it out later. So more than anything, today is about reclaiming power for your next level of leadership and impact, for your next level of business, for your creative projects, whether you're an entrepreneur and have a business, whether you're doing creative projects, whether you're leading a team in corporate. And even in terms of having integrated relationships with men and the masculine. And it's about reclaiming power from a very, very integrated, embodied, and deep feminine space. So it's not that, that thing that we're taught about power to just push and struggle. That's not power. That's like brittleness, right? So it's about reclaiming power from a very, very deep, somatic, primal, raw, and integrated feminine space. Now, I'm not seeing a lot of you here, and the whole point of this event, the whole point of this live stream is to have you guys here and to have it be collaborative and participatory. So I'm going to take a beat. I'm going to leave the camera on. I'm going to grab my phone and see if people are here on the actual, other end of Facebook on my profile, or I'll just click over there on another tab. Okay, so it's not showing from my wall. Okay. So I'm seeing you guys here, and I'm seeing that it's not coming up on my wall. So let's take a couple of deep breaths and open the container together, taking 3 or 4 deep breaths. And dropping into your body and setting your intention for the next several days together, the next several days on this journey. Most of you guys know me. Drop your intentions in as they come up if you'd like to share them. Okay, most of you guys know me. My name is Ashra Eden. I could have many different taglines, but what I really am is an embodiment teacher and an embodiment mentor who helps you work through your deepest trauma, your deepest shit, your deepest issues, and deepen your connection to God. So where all of this is going is, how do you work through your deepest shit and not just deepen your connection and be like, oh, I'm healed, but how do you alchemize or transform those really deep, raw, vulnerable, traumatized places into more power, more light, more life force, more impact, more connection, more leadership, and more connection to God. That's what I am, that's what we do together, and that's the big, big, big picture above all, beyond, beyond anything I am just saying about power. And, pop a comment and let me know how this lands. So this whole event came to be because I've seen a gap in the transformational space about women reclaiming power in a very, very integrated, feminine, primal, raw, receptive, open kind of way. And the verbiage I'm choosing to use around this is the concept of the deep feminine. And what does that mean? That means the integration of body and emotions, the integration of all parts of self, from, your inner CEO, whether you're a CEO or not, that part of you that wants to be or that part of you that is, to, the part of you that has really big sexual desires, to your inner child and your wounding, and integrating all parts of self so that you can lead, so that you can teach, so that you can take your own business to the next level from that integrated space. Hey, Carrie and Tiffy are here. Hi, Carrie. Hi, Tiffy. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hi, Harpreet. Glad to see you. And yeah, as you guys are jumping on, please say hi. And, jumping into this event, I was aware it was going to be a lot smaller than the last event, but something told me to do it anyway. Something told me that someone here needs to hear this, and somebody here, or many somebodies here, need exactly what this is about. So Carrie, welcome. Tiffany, welcome. Harpreet, welcome. And as others of you jump on, feel free to share who you are and where you're in from. So despite all the bells and whistles, despite the things that we talk about in the transformational space, despite the conversations about, the divine feminine, the sacred feminine, money, all the things that we talk about, it starts with power, and power is one of the first conversations that we need to be having. So if you're in to poke into this topic about power, drop a 1 in the comments. Okay, so what this whole journey is, because there's power and reclaiming power, and that's the first part of what we're focusing on today. And the power topic is a subset within a larger arc. And I have notes here about going into the larger arc, but what I'm going to do is to talk about power and to guide you through the embodiment of your raw power first. And we'll get to the larger arc, the bigger picture, a little bit later on in this. So the first part of our journey together is power. Reclaiming the power that always is, reclaiming the power that always was and always will be. And this is true whether or not you're currently going through trauma. This is true whether or not you currently have PTSD. This is true whether or not you're making, $100K a month or $0K a month. No matter what's going on in the outside right now, power is yours by virtue of being alive. And it's always in your field. It always is. It always was. It always will be. And reclaiming that connects you to the business leadership impact you were always meant to have, with a dose of the sacred feminine woven in. And again, yeah, okay, Harpreet's 1, she's in. Chandra, hi, Chandra's here from Oakland. Harpreet's here from Toronto. So as this keeps going, you guys, share more, share where you're from, share if you're in for this conversation. Carrie's here from Chelmsford, Massachusetts. Oh, she's seeing delays. Carrie, are you seeing this on my public Facebook wall? Because this is my first time. I'm not using Restream. I just figured I would do both and respond to the comments in the group. So Carrie, I love you. Let me know if you're seeing this on my public wall too. So who this journey is for, because the larger journey is the alchemical arc. It's the heroine's journey where no matter where you're at, you and I hook you up to the power that is yours, to the birth rate that is yours, to the higher self that is yours, so you have leverage from day one. Then there's the underworld journey, the connection to the bad girl, power, the other side of power, like the taboo repressed side of power, desire, grief, rage, shame, the healing of trauma. And then there's a deeper journey into power and a return to the light with business impact, legacy, and leadership. And that's like the 2-second variant of the larger arc. So who this journey is for? You have always felt a connection to either God or goddess or both. As a child, in church or synagogue, in your personal spiritual practices, felt her in your bones. For myself, I felt the presence of the divine feminine in synagogue when I was, what was I? I was like 3 years old. And you've always known that your personal spirituality is not what the patriarchy teaches. It's not necessarily cut and dried religion. That your spirituality has just as much to do with quote unquote God the Father out there as the body, wildness, aliveness, and the flesh. And I'm going to start right there with who this is for. Okay. This is also for you because you know that you have been through some sort of trauma. Now, you might still be in that healing, you might be out of it, but whether you're still in your alchemical healing journey or have already worked beyond it, you to some degree understand that your mess is your medicine, that the pain, the suffering, the challenges, the hardship that you have personally been through is part of your leadership, part of your ministry, part of what you are here to bring to the collective. And mixed in with that, you know that you are here to lead. Whether that's in your next level in business, having a tremendous positive impact in the corporate sphere, or even, larger visions of being a thought leader or CEO. And I'm going to pause and let the comments land. So take a breath and share how that is all landing. Okay. And with this knowing, you know that you're here to do this from an integrated space because, in a certain way, it's like really easy to go out there and like buy a business strategy course and just throw something together. But this journey is more personal than that. If you are my person, if you are my client, if you are here on this live stream, even if you've never bought anything from me, and if you're here on this live stream, it's more personal than that from you. And that is the journey that we're going on for the next 4 days. The bridge of all this work from your higher self, your light power, to reclaiming lost soul parts, to claiming your power back from the underworld, to business and impact and leadership. Because it's a reclamation of all of who you are, and then it filters, trickles, transforms into the highest level of work you can give the world. And that is alchemy. So if this path speaks to you, if you're in this for this event, pop a 1 in the comments. One, Harpreet is in it for this journey. Harpreet, I have to say it's a gift and a joy to see you again. Harpreet participated extensively at the last event, and I'm so glad that you were there, and I'm so glad that you were here. Chandra is in it. I know that Carrie and Tiffany are in it. Are here. From what I know, you guys can pop a one, and if you're in, I don't know who else is here or who else is seeing this on my Facebook profile, because I'm just seeing the comments that come up from within the group. Okay, so take a couple of deep breaths and start to ground into your body. This work works best if you've already done multiple years of personal transformational work. Like if you're new to the game of self-help, I love you, of healing, of transformation, I love you, we're probably not a fit, okay? This journey and the paid offers I'll be making later are based on, before we get into today's journey, I want to mention the wells of knowledge and the wells of thought and process that I'm drawing from, because a couple of you have DM'd me and said, I'm interested in working with you. What are your modalities? And there's not a modality. There's my own body of work and my own system. But very, very loosely, we're talking about psychology, somatic work and rewiring, nervous system work, a little bit of archetypes and mythology. I love that stuff. I find that we can also sometimes get lost in what would this goddess do and not bring it down into the body. This is also based on shamanism, journeying, and soul retrieval, priestessing and work with the divine feminine, and nuts and bolts business concepts, but not business strategies. So the concepts of like, what is the medicine that you bring to the table, and what is the highest value of that medicine, of that gift, and even how can you command that highest value, are the concepts that we toy with during parts of this journey. Not so much in this event, but within my paid containers. But this is not about business strategy. And very roughly, this is the trajectory that you and I will be going on across these 3 days of live streams, in our follow-up Q&A call, and into the next level of offerings. This is the alchemist's path. Okay, so I'm Alchemy and Power 111. Okay, so Carrie is not seeing the feed on my personal page, just here in the group. And Alchemy and Power 111, you guys, I am going to post on my personal page and tell them to hop in the group. Okay, so I just went over to my wall and posted to come in here. So Harpreet says the last event was lit. Yeah, the last event was lit. In the last event, for those of you who grabbed the replay, everyone who's here live, I think, was there. But for those of you on the replay, in the last event, we made love to God, which was just like such a hot taboo topic. Okay. So, and it's Alchemy and Power 111, yes. Okay, so today we are going on a journey, and we're beginning with your power, then connecting to yourself as a part of the collective, as a part of a larger sacred feminine lineage. And then we'll be going into the Akashic records to take a peek at the highest levels of wealth, impact, and leadership you have always been meant to create. So before we go into that journey, I'm going to take a 2-second pause and see if there's any questions about anything that I have shared so far. Because all of this, the first 23 minutes, were like the frame of where this is all going. So here's where this is going today. We're going to connect to the power in our bodies that is always there. We're going to be doing some work with clearing the good girl vibes out of the way. And then we'll be connecting to our sacred feminine lineage and higher self and into what impact we are here to make. So let's take a couple of deep breaths and drop into the space together. Calling your human self into the room. Calling your higher self into the room. And most importantly of all, feeling your body and feeling your breath. So however you do that, however that's true for you, feeling your body and your breath above all else. The first thing that we're working with within this context is power. So go ahead, and if you're sitting in a chair, put your feet on the floor, or I even invite you to / dare you to go ahead and stand up. I'm going to stand up. Power is such an embodied experience that we can talk about it all we want, but it won't light the proverbial fire. So I'm going to invite you guys to stand up, to step your feet hip distance apart. I don't know if you can see my legs here. And to bend your knees. So you're coming down into a horse stance. I'm like in a dress, but so you're like coming down into a horse stance. And while you're doing that, deepen your breath. And begin to invite the energy, the frequency, the current of power up from Gaia, up from Mother Earth, into your legs, into your hips, into your pelvis, into your whole body. And begin to light up and turn on your power, starting with the physicality of, bending your knees and using your legs. And you guys keep going. I'm going to talk. Channeling that power up through Mother Gaia, Mother Earth, and into your body. And if there's a voice thing that happens, or a thing you need to making a sound into the space like "Arr!" or even simply saying, I am power. So right here, while we're in this space together, while we're in this embodied space, speaking into the space, speaking the words of either I am power, or I have power, or I invoke my power, or just making a noise. And then feel free to drop in the comments, whatever's happening for you. And then take a couple of moments, let that very short foray into embodied power land. And sometimes, you guys, it comes out like a roar or a sound. And then slowly open your eyes, and if your eyes were closed, if you were standing, if you were moving, Just come back to your seat, come back to your computer, come back to your phone, whatever device you're on. And start to just hold that frequency in your body, that frequency of power. Okay. Now that you have that frequency of power, we're going to pair this with something else. We're going to pair this with a very short conversation about the good girl. And it's actually not that we want to be the good girl, it's that we're looking to create space for our authentic power, free of the good girl. So we're going to start to address the topic of the good girl and clear her out of the way. And then we're going to check in about how this went for you. So continue to let yourself feel the power that we invoked in this exercise. And just listen. When you were a child, you were told who you were supposed to be, and what possibilities for life were available for you. And in some cases, this programming was positive, but in a lot of cases, it was like negative and damaging and was like, just be good, tone it down, be quiet, be nice, don't want too much, don't be too loud. And you were told who to be in your personal spirituality. You were told who to be in your body. You were told who to be in your likes and dislikes. You were told who to be in your relationships. And you were told who to be in what destinies, outcomes, and career paths were available to you. And that's the conditioned self, and that's the good girl. Drop a 1 if you relate. Drop a 1 if you had some degree of this indoctrination in your childhood. I know that I did. I was conditioned to be like a lot of things that I'm not, like, super Jewish, super nice, super tame, super mild, to never disobey your parents. Oh God, the Bible, right? Thou shalt honor thy mother and father. Well, what if your parents were assholes? Like, that's good girl shit right there. Harpreet relates, Chandra relates. If anyone else wants to drop a 1 because they relate, go for it. Drop that 1 in. Okay. So you were told who to be in your body, in your relationships, in your likes and dislikes, and even in what destinies, outcomes, and career paths you had for you. Okay. What we're going to, whoa, I just clicked a funny thing. Okay. What we are going to do with this is this. This is the conditioned self, the good girl. So I want you to take a minute and ask yourself, how was I programmed to be a good girl? And just sit with that for a moment. And the list might be really long. Like when I've worked on this for myself, it's been like pages, right? So ask yourself first, how was I programmed to be a good girl? And really feel into one category. And for the purposes of this event, you might want to ask yourself, how was I programmed to be a good girl around money? How was I programmed to be a good girl around power? How was I programmed to be a good girl around authority? How was I programmed to be a good girl around leadership? How was I programmed to be a good girl around taking charge? Where was I programmed to play nice when playing nice violated my own knowledge of myself? So take a moment, pick one category, and feel into one space that's relevant to this transmission where you were pushed into being a good girl. And just on your own sheet of paper, write it down, or if you want to pop it in the comments, pop it in the comments. Where were you indoctrinated to be a good girl? I'll share some of mine while you guys are writing, feeling into it. Let's see what were mine. Okay, definitely the religion thing. Don't speak up about trauma in the family. Huge one. Career paths. You know, you can only make this much money. There was like this proverbial income cap. Oh yeah, one from Carrie and Tiffany, and amen, sister from Tiffany. Tiffany, I love you. Are we good girl programming? Yep, big delay. Yeah, I figured there's a big delay. Okay. Tomorrow I might just do this on my wall and get the public in because tomorrow's going to be super lit and I want everybody there. So tomorrow I might just do it all on my wall. Okay. Harpreet was asked to let go of a leadership role at school. Be nice, let the other one have it. Yeah. And Harpreet, how did that feel for you? Like, if you feel open to sharing, how did that feel for you? Like, I know that the biggest ones I went through as a child were, there were a lot. There was money and career. My parents told me as a kid, you know, how much money my ultimate income cap as an adult. I mean, it was insane, right? I thought I was too much. I thought I need to mellow down. Yeah. Yeah. Harpreet thought she was too much. I need to mellow down. And Harpreet, I'm going to throw out a question for you. What if I told you you need to turn it up? That's what we're doing tomorrow. We're not so much doing that today, but tomorrow we're going to do the opposite of all the good girl stuff and turn it up. Okay. So continue writing down, sharing, typing in where you were a good girl. And then when you're ready, what we're going to do is we're going to move all that good girl energy out of the space. So if you wrote yours on paper, you could rip up your paper and throw it away. If you just sense your good girl programming in the space around you, you can like energetically visualize one of them like, you know, I can't have that leadership role at school, and just like push it away. So take a beat. Ask yourself, what do I want to do right now to start to push that good girl energy out of my space? Don't talk to boys. Oh my God, Harpreet, I have to tell you something about that. I had, what was it? God, it was hilarious. I was like in fucking high school and wasn't allowed to go on dates. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I relate. Don't talk to boys. That's a huge one. Mine was like you're 17 and you can't go on a date. I was like, really? I'm 17 and I can't go on a date? Yeah, don't talk to boys. Yeah. So choose one aligned action. Tear up your paper, make a gesture, push the good girl vibe out of your space. Do one thing right now and clear the space. And I'm going to pause while you guys do this. If you want, you can even get into your power stance again and use that, you know, and start to clear the space from there. Yeah, Carrie saying, good girl, don't talk about how dad is different on vacation versus during the week. Power is okay, but only in acceptable situations. Yeah, Carrie, I get that one. Power is okay, but only in acceptable situations. And like the dad thing, right? I know you and I both have father stories, but just different ones. And it's like that split personality of dad. And good girls don't point out that dad has an issue. Or that mom has an issue, right? So take another moment doing whatever you need to do to begin to cast that good girl vibe out of your space. Okay, so now that we've connected to power and started to create some spaciousness around the good girl thing, we're going to dive deeper together and start to connect to the impact, power, leadership that you are truly here to create. So type a 1 if you're following and ready to dive deeper. into the impact, leadership you are here to create. As well as resonance with your own sacred feminine lineage. Okay. So go ahead and settle down into your body and your breath again. We're going to put aside the good girl thing for now. We're going to get back to that tomorrow on day 2. And come into a comfortable position for you. That comfortable position either being seated, lying down. It could also be your power stance. Whatever is really uniquely true for you right now. And claim your seat. Feeling your sit bones connecting to the earth, unless you're standing, in which case feeling your feet connecting to the earth. Feeling your crown chakra connecting to the sky. And anchor into your body and your breath, deepening your breath. And Harpreet says 1, she is ready to move on. Yeah, I'm glad. And here's the thing. We all have our human self, and then we also have our higher self. And sometimes those two parts of self have different identities and different names. 1 and 1. I love it. 1 and 1. 1 and 1 is 2. Sometimes those human selves and higher selves have different identities and different names. And that's okay. So for right now, ground into your human self, you as you know yourself here and now. Invite all parts of you into the room. And I'm going to drop into a bit of a prayer for the collective, for everyone who's here live, and for everyone who grabs the replay. So invoking all of our bodies, invoking all of our breaths, invoking all of our higher selves, invoking all of our human selves, calling all parts, bits, and pieces of the beautiful humans, the beautiful women here live for this transmission, the beautiful humans, the beautiful women's here for the replay, the higher selves of the women who are here live for this transmission, and the higher selves of the women who see, receive, grab this replay. Welcoming all parts in right here, right now. We ask that this entire guided meditation, this entire shamanic journey, this entire transmission be held in love, light, ethereal protection, angelic protection, and that what only unfolds is the highest good of all. We ask that the Akashic records of all beings present are now open with both their human name and, if applicable, their divine name. We hereby invite in the Akashic records, the Lord's teachers, wise ones, loved ones, and keepers of the Akashic records, and we invite them open for the highest good of all. And take a breath, take that in, and let that resonate with you. However it lands in your body. And however that is true for you. And feel the energy and the frequency of your higher self. So as you're deepening your breath and tuning into your body, intentionally invite in your highest self. That could be a future you. Near future you, like 6 months from now. I encourage you to feel for, to journey for a form of your higher self that is available right now, that could be you on the highest timeline right now. And I'm going to do it with you guys. I hereby invoke my higher self into the room now. I hereby invoke the highest self of all the women on this transmission right here, right now. So invoking your higher self, feeling her, journeying to her for a moment, and asking your higher self, what is your medicine for me? What do you have to tell me, to share, to transmit, to teach me? And giving her lots and lots and lots of space to respond. And as you're calling in your higher self, as you're feeling her, as you're communicating with her, as you're allowing her to teach you and transmit to you, as you're transmitting to her and teaching to her, ask yourself, what is my own sacred feminine lineage? And I'll explain what that means in a moment, but for right now, just ask the question. What is my own unique sacred feminine lineage? When I say that, I mean an energetic lineage of the goddess that you spiritually come from, such as Gaia / Mother Earth, such as Mary Magdalene / Isis, such as Sophia, such as, Shakti. And or what is the lineage ahead of you in your descendants that you are here to create? So connecting to your higher self, asking her for her teachings, wisdom, medicine, and asking, what is my true sacred feminine lineage? And just breathing, grounding, anchoring, sitting with any wisdom, any teachings, any transmissions that arise. And if things come up, you're welcome to pop them in the comments now, or even better is after the journey. And staying in this energy even more. If any sensations arise in your body, if your higher self needs to move in a certain way, go ahead and play with that. Try it on. Really calibrating to you. You're not calibrating to me. You're not calibrating to the teacher. You're calibrating to the highest version of you. And this is the beginning of the calibration. And take another moment and let that land in your physical body. And then asking your higher self, what is my role? What is the highest level of impact that I am here to create? Not what does my conscious mind think I can create, not what do I believe is possible today. We could talk about that. We could talk about that some other time. But what is the highest timeline that is possible for me in terms of leadership, in terms of money, in terms of business, in terms of impact and service? What is the highest timeline that is possible for me if you and I fully unite? And really take like 10, 15, 20 breaths. And feel what arises. What is my highest level of impact from a deeply integrated space? Is it to be a priestess leading my own ceremonies? Is it to be a coach making 7 figures? Is it to be, a CEO that transforms corporate culture to like save the environment down the road? Whatever it is for you. And if it's helpful to you, take a pause and jot down any transmissions you receive. And taking it all in. You can even add the question, what is my next step along this path towards that destiny? And if you need to like write down anything that came up in the space on a piece of paper, go ahead and do that now, because we're about to change gears yet again. Go ahead and come back to your body and your breath. Coming back to the here and the now. And I am closing the Akashic records for myself, Ashura Eden. We hereby close the Akashic records for the collective, the women live on this transmission, and all the women who will watch it down the line as a replay, as a digital product in whatever form. The records are now closed. Amen. The records are now closed. Amen. The records are now closed. Amen. And breathing, feeling your body, opening your eyes. Coming back to the room because I want to open the comments for shares about what you experienced on that journey. And then there's a few other things we're going to get to today before we wrap up. So as you come back, feel free to pop in any shares around what you experienced on that journey. And I know that there's a lag, so I'm going to give it a moment. Okay, so as you have shares, pop them in and I will respond to them. So I want to mention that what we've just done is like the very, very, very raw beginning of a much larger journey. And actually, this piece that we just did is incredibly, incredibly similar to a piece that I did with my first spiritual teacher, gosh, like way back in 2006, where we invoked my higher self, we invoked the vision, we invoked the impact, we invoked the destiny. And here I am, 17 years later or whatever. Have I gotten all the way there? No. Have I gotten part way there? Yes. I've gotten part way there in the past 15 years. Certainly not all the way. So this is like step one, like not even step one, it's like step 1A, and then there's step one. This is like step 1A of a much larger journey. And I have to say, you guys, let's flip for feedback. Okay. Support is so important in this journey. Support is so vital in truly creating your larger vision. This is not necessarily a DIY project. I mean, you could try and you might get somewhere, but like it would probably just take a lot longer. So tomorrow and the days after, day 2, day 3, I will be offering you some ways to continue with me on this path tomorrow and in day 3. There's going to be a couple of ways we can continue. I'll probably also be doing day 2 and day 3 on my personal profile only because of the tech issue. So 90% chance I'm just going to do 2 and 3 on my personal Facebook. I'm going to go back to the topic about this journey and support on the journey and how essential support is, not required, but certainly to like collapse the timeline. When I started down this path, I was incredibly like emotionally traumatized. And I was also incredibly spiritually disconnected. And I had to take a couple of really big leaps to heal that trauma. I don't even want to say heal, to integrate that trauma and come into like a palpable, somatic, visceral, known sense of my own wholeness. I had to take a couple of really big leaps to even like begin to reclaim my spiritual connection to God, Goddess, Source, never mind spiritual authority. And I had to take some smaller leaps to begin to get my business up and running. I want to speak specifically to 2 of the leaps I had to take and how key they were, because these 2 leaps correlate very roughly to the work that I will be inviting you into in later days of this event. The first big leap that I had to take was actually when I moved to Hawaii for the first time in 2005. And I thought it was the move, but it wasn't the move. It was the fact that I met my first spiritual teacher, and the fact that she was a shaman, and the fact that she saw my soul, and the fact that she saw me, and the fact that she saw what I was capable of and who I really am. And that over the course of a couple of years, we together, her and I, embarked on a depth initiation process. And that initiation did not fix everything for me. It was not like an instant fix. But it lined me up with who I really am and my connection to God, Spirit, Source, and it gave me the fortitude and the inner strength that I needed for the rest of the journey. The second really big leap I had to take on this path was graduate school. And I'm not saying you have to go get a 3-year advanced degree to get to where you want to go. In fact, for a lot of people, I would say don't do it. But the reason that leap was valuable, 3 years of my life, $250,000 expense, the reason that leap was valuable was the level of emotional and psychological transformation that I received within that container, where I had a container that was big enough and vast enough and expansive enough to overcome my own deepest trauma, my own deepest soul loss, my own deepest wounding, and to reintegrate it back into wholeness, coherent identity, and personal power. And there were other leaps and other investments too, and I'll keep it short for now. But I'm mentioning those 2 leaps because desiring, I don't even want to say requiring, I don't even want to be like, you need me, because I feel like that's some old school quasi-manipulative shit. But desiring support, certainly recognizing the value of support, recognizing the value of investing support, giving yourself permission to get support if it's what you desire. I don't even want to say if it's what you need. If it's what you desire, is incredibly valid. And I just want to speak that validity and voice that validity and honor that desiring and receiving whatever support you want, desire, need, whether it's me or anyone else, is completely valid and a very real need. and how, in fact, as good girls, we're conditioned out of, drumroll, getting help, getting support, receiving support, whether that's business mentorship, healing, sacred sexuality, whatever it is. The good girl doesn't get help. The good girl muscles through, right? So if you want support from me, if you desire support from me, if you desire support from someone else, if this inspires you to go hire someone else, more power to you. Honor it as valid. Okay. So here's what we're doing. We're closing up day 1 for now. I'm going to pause and see if there's any final shares. We did a pretty deep journey back there. And if something came up that was like tender, vulnerable, raw, you can absolutely DM it to me. If you want to DM me a share, I just ask that you do it during the event itself, not like 2 weeks after. So if something came up and you're like, oh, this came up and I want to share it, you can send it to me, but during the event. Okay. So tomorrow we are diving into the bad girl. And we're going to be diving deep into the bad girl and the parts of self we were taught to repress. So this is like the flip side of the good girl. We're going to go into big desires, kinky fetishes, rage, guilt, fear, shame. And what we're going to be doing is welcoming these parts, and instead of pushing them away, calling them in, welcoming them, cuddling up into them, and then going on a journey of transforming these parts into power, which takes us into liberation and freedom from trauma, as well as the power that is required for your next level of money and your next level of impact. We will also very likely briefly be exploring the bad girl through the archetype of Lilith. Lilith was the first woman. She got kicked out of the Garden of Eden for having sex on top of Adam and not submitting. And we will probably be discussing the bad girl, very specifically how it relates to shame and sexual shame and sexual taboos, and how to really transform those parts of self into power. And finally, at the end of tomorrow, I will be beginning to share 2 incredibly potent ways you can continue this work with me in a much higher level container. Okay. Are there questions or shares? You guys are still here, it's just quiet. Okay. Okay, questions, thoughts, shares. Okay, I'm going to take 3 or 4 breaths in case there's a lag. So we're going to breathe together and take 5 deep breaths, and if there's no shares by then, we will wrap up day 1. So go ahead and take 5 deep breaths down into your body. Anchoring into your sit bone, anchoring into Gaia, Mother Earth. And thanking you all so much for being here today. Looking forwards to seeing you tomorrow, and tomorrow I am going to do this live only on my Facebook wall, because for whatever reason, even though Facebook told me it was doing both, it didn't. Much love.